All right, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to This Week in JRPGs. We have missed a few weeks, but good to be back. I was out of the country visiting friends and family in California. Jack had a birthday, but we are back. Jack, it's good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Beautiful as always. Exhausted, but doing well. And today we are featuring Simba the dog instead of crying baby Hannah. So,
Simba the dog.
we traded one for the other.
There you go. Well, happy to have Simba. Maybe my favorite dog in Korea. There's the competition's not that stiff.
It's a pretty low bar.
That's right. But unfortunately, I was not here for your birthday. But how was it? How was Corner? I know I kind of asked you already, but any other fun stories?
I'm glad that you asked. I also would like to know how my birthday
was. Well, there's the answer, ladies and gentlemen. It was. So I was visiting friends in California, and you see things on the internet and you think, oh, this is just things on the internet. This doesn't happen in real life. I lost count of how many Cybertrucks I saw in real life.
Oh, I thought you were going to say poop on the street.
There was, you know what? I didn't spend a lot of time in San Francisco, and the time that I did spend, it was in like the really nice areas. So I think they keep those nice and clean. Like we went to Pier 39, Fisherman's Wharf. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Alcatraz. Apparently, they're going to reopen
it. Listen, like on a list of amazing bad ideas, that one's right up there. And when I saw that in the news, I was like, no, like nobody actually said that, did they? And then like, oh no, that Trump's talking about reopening it. I'm like, it's a good thing this is not a political show.
Yeah, exactly. Shinky, what's up, man? Thanks for tuning in. Good to see you as always. But no, I mean, California was good. It was expensive, but good. It was fun to show my girlfriend around, have her meet friends and family. Now she wants to move there, and I'm like trying to it's very fun. We had a lovely time. If I was rich, I don't know if I would live there. It's just so expensive. Like, here's a fun story. So in Korea, you can go to a doctor's clinic. You don't need an appointment. You can walk in, you take a number like you're at a deli, at least the one by my house, and you just wait your turn, less than 30 minutes usually, if that. And you see a doctor, you get your medicine if you need to. The pharmacy is literally right next door. You give them the paper, they give you your medicine in less than a minute. I'm not even exaggerating. And all in all, you probably spent $10. For that same exact process in America, granted, I don't have insurance because I don't work in America, it was $205 to see a doctor with literally one person in front of me and to get like pretty basic medicine. I was like, cool.
Land of the free and home of the broke.
That's right. Yes. But yes, land of the broke indeed. But anyway, no, it was a really great trip. She had fun. I had fun. But happy to be back. Happy to be back in the routine, doing the streams, playing some games, making some videos.
And welcome back, Taylor.
Oh, yes. The only thing that I am not thrilled with is the weather. The weather in the Bay Area is pretty much perfect. And here, it's still cold. I'm like, come on. It's May. We're like into the second week of May, and it's still cold and raining. Like, what the hell?
There's a reason that it costs $8.9 bajillion a year to live in that area. And it's because you're paying for perfect weather all year round, which nobody is going to deny. That is what California has. That is the only thing California has going for it at this point. But oh my God, does it still have that?
It does. Oh yeah, it's wonderful. But it'll warm up in the next few weeks, I'm sure. So it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't have an article to go with this first story, but I wanted to kick off with something kind of funny. I thought it was kind of funny. So there was this like Comic-Con thing, And somebody reported that Yuji Horii, who's like the longtime Dragon Quest series producer, he worked on Chrono Trigger, that he supposedly let it slip that there's a Chrono Trigger remake happening, and the internet lost their shit. Like everyone was going nuts. Like, oh my gosh, he just said it like randomly. But then I guess it was something like lost in translation, and his interpreter was like, oh, he would like to make it, but they're not really making it. I still don't really know what the full story is, but I thought it was a hilarious little kerfuffle. Did you hear anything about this?
I didn't, but even if I did, I would have just assumed it's on like The Onion or some nonsense. Like man, we've talked about this before here on the show. Like there is approximately a 0.0001% chance of a Chrono Trigger remake actually happening. It's not a thing.
Yeah. No, it was hilarious because like everyone was so quick. Like some guy, basically it was just some guy in a crowd at this Comic-Con thing, and Yuji Horii was doing a panel, and he's like, he just said that he's doing a Chrono Trigger remake, and then everyone just sort of, you know how the internet works, it spreads like wildfire. Nobody actually does their homework. But then when people actually started
like a Travis Scott concert, man.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, no, it ended up being a nothing burger, but it got people talking. And like you said, we've talked about this, I think, God, twice on the very first episode for sure, if not many other times after. But until I see something, all this hearsay and mistranslation, I'm just ignoring it until we see something, because I don't like getting my hopes up. Not that I'm not even one of those people that like drools over Chrono Trigger and thinks it's the best game ever. I think it's good. When I played it way after the fact, I was kind of surprised at how good it was and how well it held up, but I wasn't like, oh my God, this is like the best game of all time. Like, you know, games have advanced, storytelling has gotten better, visuals have gotten better. But
also, let's not forget that the target audience for Chrono Trigger was 10 to 15-year-old boys. And those 10 to 15-year-old boys who thought it was the greatest game of all time at the time, myself included, are now dirty old men. And so like, we need something to throw our money at. And like, we're not buying Assassin's Creed Shadows. So like,
Yep. So Shinky said, you probably know better than me, Shinky. I was kind of trying to piece things together. There were so many conflicting reports, but I guess he said that he's contemplating a remake. So everybody's always thinking of everything, right? Like again, like you might as well say, well, I'm thinking of waking up tomorrow. It's like, okay, well, I think we all are.
Simba, hopefully. Are you contemplating food right now? I bet you are.
I bet he is. Yeah. So, well, I'm sure that's exactly what he said. Not that there is one happening. Doesn't mean much until we see something.
Yeah. I wouldn't put any stock in that. Look, guaranteed no Chrono Trigger remake gets announced before Final Fantasy IX happens. So like, just go ahead and put a real big pin in that one for now.
And who knows when that even gets announced, because they put up that, that anniversary website and they're selling merch and stuff. Maybe this summer. I mean, we're about, a couple weeks out from all the big announcements. Like I know Jeff Keighley does the Summer Game Fest, which I think is first week of June. So that'll be exciting. Last year he showed the, was it Rebirth? Or maybe it was 2 years ago he showed Rebirth. And then last year there wasn't much, but we'll see what happens this year. There are so many rumors, and there's really nothing confirmed for this fall. So I feel like this could be a pretty big Summer Game Fest this year.
So Taylor, speaking of things getting announced, I know that there was a lot of room left open because of GTA 6. But now that that's been pushed back to late May of next year, what do you think is going to get announced? Let's hear Taylor's predictions. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. What is going to get announced this year? Things that have not yet been announced. for 2025 that are going to get either a release date or a loose 2025, early 2026 kind of pinning.
So to me, there's two games that have a lot of smoke, and when there's smoke, there's typically fire. So the first one is the Persona 4 remake. Like, that's the worst kept secret in the industry right now, because people found they found the website, and apparently the website's since been updated at least once, if not twice. And I think based on the success of Persona 3 Reload, whatever they call this, everyone's calling it Persona 4 Rewind, which would make sense with the TV thing, or Replay. I don't know. But I think Persona 4 Remake for sure. There's so much talk about that. And this isn't a JRPG, but something I've seen pop up a lot is also Resident Evil 9. There's been a lot of talk about Resident Evil 9. Like, the rumors are that it's Leon and Jill, and it's more open world, whatever that means. Like, it's more exploratory. Like, the environments are bigger, which I don't know if I want that. Like, Resident Evil is better when it's confined spaces. So yeah, so I don't know about that. But to me, those are the two big ones that there's been a lot of talk. And now that things are open, it's just like, oh, okay, well.
We talked about Resident Evil before, and I'm the only person who thought that the Resident Evil 3 remake was just like fucking perfect. Like, I love that, but I loved it specifically for that reason, for the fact that, like, other than the initial kind of like, and it's not open world, but like the streets area, other than that, you have it's a hallway. You go down the hallway, and then you get into another hallway, and you go down the hallway, and I like that. I really like that. Resident Evil 3 had me on rails the whole time, but also, then again, maybe I'm just a simple little bitch because I also like Final Fantasy 13. Like, I like the story that just gives me the story, right?
Yeah.
As far as Persona 4 Remake goes, now I never played Persona 3, the original version. You did?
Yes, I played. Okay. Well, I've not played. So there were two versions, right? There was Persona 3, and then they did FES. But I still don't. I've never seen just the original version. It's always the FES version or the portable version. But I played FES on PS2.
Shinky, listen, my spirit animal right here.
He also loves 13. Okay,
a fellow appreciator. I like that. A man of culture. So I'm curious, based on your experience with Persona 3 to Persona 3 Reload, how faithful was it to the original game? Because to me, like, it felt like a completely new Persona game to me. Again, I haven't played Persona 3, but it did not feel like a remake or a revarnishing. It felt like top to bottom, this is a brand new Persona game that they were throwing at me. How did it feel to someone who's played the Persona 3 before?
Well, I would say story and character wise, it's like pretty much the same. Like, I played Persona 3 a long time ago. I want to say 2010, so it's been a minute since I played it. But from what I remember, all the big story beats happen exactly like I remember. Most of the characters are exactly how I remember. The only character that I felt was different was Akihiko, the boxer guy. And that was because of the voice actor. Like, the voice actor in the original Persona 3 had this really like deep, gruff voice. And so he seemed more like a badass. But in this one, his voice was like, to me, it just didn't match. But gameplay wise, they changed a lot. Like, gameplay wise, it's very different. Like, in Tartarus, there's like more things to do in Tartarus. Like, there's those extra little doors you can explore. There's those statues that you can break. I feel like they just totally redesigned Tartarus, like, visually, to try to make it more interesting, because it's pretty boring, visually speaking. They have the whatever they don't call it baton pass, but whatever, where you can give it your turn to somebody else.
Yeah.
Visually, like with the menus, with the all-out attacks, all that stuff, finisher moves. They try to make it a lot more like Persona 5, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So, but people always complain, like they said, oh, they totally ruined it because they didn't have the female protagonist. And I'm like, all right, well, people modded it, the female protagonist anyway, and it's fine.
Now, the reason I asked you is because I know that Persona 4, Golden specifically, is your favorite game of all time.
Yes.
Do you think that they will do that game justice in a remake? Is part one of the question. And part two of the question is, who's going to be best girl in the Persona 4 remake, and why is it Yukiko?
Fellow Yukiko appreciator. I like it.
Of course.
Yes. I think they're gonna do it justice because, there's not much to screw up. Like, just stick to the story, because the story and the characters are what make that game incredible. So as long as they
and
Teddy's pretty great. Yeah.
Teddy drives the whole damn thing. Like I'm like Morgana in Persona 5, the underappreciated driver of the story. Love me some Teddy.
Oh yeah. Well, so here's why I like 4 more than 3 and 5. That game just has so many more moments where the characters are having fun. So there's like the school trip where you're going camping. There's like a beach day. There's a scooter day. There's like where you go skiing. There's the
I knew it was all about the
springs.
beach day for you, wasn't it? Fan service day is in Taylor's set.
That's all. If they don't have the fan service day, they might as well not do it.
So in all sincerity, I thought that one of the things that Persona 4 did that really set it apart from not just its other games in the series, but from other contemporary JRPGs, and honestly, from anything else in that era and even beyond, is the way that it really portrayed the challenges that the Japanese family faced, right? What was her name? The little sister.
Oh, Nanako, yeah.
Yes, Nanako, right? And like the relationship that you build with her and the struggles that she has with her overworked dad, and like as a single dad, like to portray a single dad in, first of all, in any medium is rare. And then to really portray like the reality of that and the effects that it has on the children in that family, it's really good. And it does a great job of showing her grow throughout that year that you spend with her in the game, and seeing her mature and kind of take on the responsibilities of life. Like, I really do think that Persona 4 nailed the life side of things in a way that maybe it nailed it a little bit too hard. And so they kind of backed off a little bit in Persona 5, and they were like, let's just kind of make him a curry shop owner and like, kind of leave it off.
No, I agree. Like, each of the individual character story arcs are incredible. And obviously I think the one you connect with first, obviously, is Nanako. She's like by herself a lot. And I don't want to, like, I know it's an old game, but I don't want to spoil it for the people that haven't played it. But there's something that happens halfway through. And if you don't I don't know how to talk about it without spoiling it, but basically there's a bad ending. And I remember I got the bad ending and I was so pissed because I'm like, this cannot be how the game ends. And
we have got to talk afterwards, because I didn't get the bad ending, so I actually don't know what you're talking about here.
Oh, okay.
I'd love to hear about it. However, as long as Nanako doesn't die and the fox doesn't die, I love the fox as well.
Oh, Fox is great. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just love, to me, I think what I connected with is like the theme of the game is like embracing your true self. Like, each character's dungeon is like, you're going through their dungeon and you're like, oh, that's not what I'm like. And then at the end, you kind of have to confront, you're like, you know what? I am like that. And it's kind of like annoying or crappy, but you know what? That's me. I'm going to embrace it and I'm going to try to fix it and be better, you know? And I like that because there's a lot of characters that have stuff that they really struggle with. And the fact that they're just embracing who they are I like that.
Is that because like, I can think of at least 2 of the characters who, by the end of their dungeon, they were like, "No, I swear to God, that's absolutely not me. That's not me. That's not definitely not, never me in the sauna, never ever." Like, and then also Reese as well, where like,
oh yeah,
she's no, right? I get where you're coming from, but I think that a lot of that is the feelings and the expectations that other people place upon you, because that's what it actually felt like to me, is that each of these dungeons is how somebody else from the outside views them, and then them either struggling with that, accepting it, denying it, whatever that is, but struggling with these views and expectations placed on them from the outside world, especially in those 2 particular examples, and honestly with all the rest of them as well, just their different levels of acceptance.
Yeah, no, that might be a better explanation for it. The one thing I'm very concerned about, and we're going to get a little political here, and if people get angry, that's fine. But a lot of people have revisionist history with 2 characters, and they like to use them for their own worldview. So one of them is Kanji. So Kanji, when he meets not Nanako, Naoto at first, you know, Naoto dresses like a guy, presents as a guy, not because they're trans, but because they are trying to get ahead in their job. They want to be a detective, and in Japan, I guess you can't be taken seriously as a detective unless you're a man. So Naoto dresses as a man so that people will take her seriously. And so when Kanji meets Naoto, he's like, I kind of like this person. Well, that's weird. Why do I like this person? And then like also Kanji's into like girly stuff like knitting and making stuffed animals and stuff.
For the political shelf for Kaiser. This is Trump, Kim
Trump
Jong-un, Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Wow.
Nice. I saw his comment and I had to pull it off of my shelf to give him his political shelf.
That's funny.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Go on. No, that's okay. But yeah, I think people have misinterpreted Kanji's character and like, oh, well, Kanji's gay. It's like, no, he's not. He's not gay, and Naoto is not trans. And people have really twisted those characters to fit what they think. And they're like, oh, Japan is so homophobic and transphobic. And it's like, okay, well, it's made in Japan. This is not an American-made game, so you can't put your worldview on what they're doing in Japan. So my concern is they're going to get skittish and change those characters to either not be how they were in the original or tone it down or something. So that's my only concern, is those can be kind of sensitive topics and they might not have the balls to stick with it.
I'm curious your thoughts on this, because when I played, now granted, I only first played Persona 4 Golden in like 2020, 2021, whenever it released on Steam. So I had not played it before that. But when I played it, I absolutely understood Kanji to be gay, but in Egypt's biggest river, denial. However, I didn't read Naoto as trans. I just read her as cross-dressing, but again, for practical purposes, not like for performative or identity purposes. Just like,
yeah,
I dress this way so that people will understand me for what I am, and it literally has nothing to do with me as a person or my thoughts. that's how I read their characters. And at least to me, it made the whole kanji thing and his denial and his dungeon that much funnier, because it comes across as like as the Japanese version of homophobia, which is like, you're gay as shit, man, and like, we're gonna put you in all these gay situations, and we're not ever gonna be mad at you about it, but we're just gonna kind of poke at you, yeah, right? Like, and it was funny, at least to me it was, and that's how I read it. Like, why do you think that he's definitely not gay? Because you seem real set on that.
I think he just, and maybe I'm projecting a little, but
because of the time that
kanji.
you spent in saunas.
That's right. That's right. No, but there have been times where I can enjoy cute things, but I'm not gay. Like Kanji. Why did I say Tony? Kanji.
You're thinking of your other boyfriend, man.
I guess. Yeah, my boyfriend Tony. You know him well.
Yes.
But he dresses up like this tough biker guy, but then he likes the cute things, and at first he likes Naoto, but then as the game goes on and it's revealed that Naoto is not a guy, he's still into her, as far as I could gather. And like when you go through his social link, he's just sort of like, you know what? It's okay to like cute things and still be a tough guy. Like that's what I got out of it. But again, maybe I'm projecting a little because I'm like, oh, I like to play sports and I'm into guy stuff and I'm straight, but I also like cute stuff on occasion. Like I remember I did a review for Monster Hunter Stories 2, and I said one of my favorite parts, whenever there's a game gives me the option to create a character, I always pick a girl. And I always like, changing their outfits and customizing how they look. And one of the guys, I got a comment, they're like, oh, it's so great to see another gay creator. And I'm like, oh, I'm not gay, but thanks. So again, I feel like I could really commiserate with Kanji, where it's like, oh, if you're gay, it's okay, buddy, but I'm like, I'm not, but I like cute stuff on occasion. So anyway, but yeah, I think
I completely understand where you're coming from. I mean, as a guy who has a unicorn hat with squeezy ears hanging right behind me, like, I get it. I totally understand. Maybe I didn't read that part into it because I don't really have that association with gay guys liking cutesy things, at least not in my mind, because honestly, most of the gay guys that I know wouldn't have anything to do with the ridiculous shit that I pick up. Like, the gay guys I know would never put this on. and so like, to me, those two don't necessarily cross paths. Anyhow, we're kind of going off into the struggles of Hanji, the character, and his writing. What is good for you, Lurock?
What's up, Lurock? Good to see you. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think if we reel it all the way back, the question was, what games do we think are going to come out this year? Those are the two.
And why is Yukiko still going to be best girl?
Oh, Yukiko, I mean, she's just super cute. I love her character design. She's like the quintessential, like, traditional Japanese pretty girl. Like, she runs the inn, always wears the kimono, very proper. I don't know. I like her. Chie's too much of a tomboy. Rise, I don't know. Rise's fine, but I'm just not my style. And then I don't remember the other girls that you can choose from, but yeah.
Now, hot take. Sora from Tokyo Xanadu was the evolution of Chie, made 10 times better. She was the cute, short-haired tomboy best friend character, but was genuinely cute, was genuinely like fun to talk to, better personality. She's literally Chie on steroids, and so much better. Because at least in my playthrough of Tokyo Xanadu, Sora, best girl.
Oh yeah, 100%. I liked her a lot. She's fun.
Simba. I know there's somebody at the door and he's losing his mind. I'm gonna mute myself and check that.
Okay. So this is interesting. Larock brings up Marie. I'm curious if they're gonna have Marie in the remake, because she does very little. She's sort of this like little side character that hangs out in the Velvet Room, and I think a lot of people disliked her. She's got a funky style that's kind of cool, but I wasn't a big fan of Marie. What did you think of Marie, Jack?
Dude, you didn't like the poetry?
Every time you read it, you stupid jerk face, I hate you. Blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, not really.
No. Marie walked so that I hate myself for forgetting her name, but new girl from Persona 5 Royal.
Oh, Kasumi?
Kasumi. Marie walked so that Kasumi could run. Like, she had to exist and be the extra thing so that people could give the feedback and be like, bro, this isn't it. Like, we need a character. We need someone fleshed out. We need someone who is involved with the story from the get-go, who you care about, who you grow with, who all this stuff. And then they were able to write Kasumi, and write her they did. And yeah, Marie's pretty freaking meh. But like, I don't know, like that. She was not the addition to Persona 4 Golden that made it worth playing. But Kasumi was the addition that made Persona 5 Royal worth playing. Well, Kasumi and the Doctor.
Yeah.
They might cut Golden content out completely.
Yeah, that's kind of my hot take. Is in Persona 3 Reload, obviously they don't include the female protagonist stuff because they
Persona
basically
3 is weird because there's not a
Yeah.
single definitive edition of it.
Yeah, that's
right.
also
There's
true.
the portable, there's the FES, and then there's also the base edition. And like all three versions of it are very, very different. And then there's also the answer, which they did include, didn't they?
They sold it later as DLC. Yeah.
Which they originally did as well. And like that's Atlas is gonna Atlas. Like we all know that they're gonna do that. Like
Yeah.
right, like it's fine, but at least they still give good products, unlike Ubisoft doing Ubisoft. But
Yeah.
Atlas is gonna Atlas. They're gonna do the things. I would be really, really surprised though if they don't include the golden content, especially because literally unless you have the PS2 disc version of the game, the only version of the game that people know is golden.
Yeah.
And so most people, I would argue, who have played the game at this point don't know a version of Persona 4 without Marie and without the golden content.
I think the golden content's got to be in there. I mean, I don't know. Marie, like what she actively contributes is very little, but the actual extra golden content for sure they got to keep in, because that's like where you get the scooters and you go to the other town. There's the snow vacation trip. So there's a lot of extra like golden content that I would be pretty upset if they didn't include. But if they excluded Marie, I would be like, all right, that's fine.
They might exclude Marie, or they might make actually they might make a good quality of life addition and make interactions with Marie be free for time. Like, these don't cost you an afternoon to spend time with Marie and to do things with her, because like she was never compelling enough that I wanted to spend time with her, especially compared to all of the other social links where it's like, yeah, I could take her around to see what's in the town, or I could go see the fox. And like, sorry, Marie, you lose every time. There's a fucking fox.
Right. So like Laroc's saying though, you do have to interact with her to some extent to get the true ending, I guess.
That's true.
I forget about that, but that sounds true. But so your take, what do you think could fill the void of fall?
The GTA void?
Yeah, exactly. Now that there's a giant vacuum and everybody's like, oh, thank God. Or maybe they're pissed because they were trying to avoid it in the first place. But yeah, what do you think could possibly come out / get announced?
Honestly, like, I have no idea. All I can do is give you like wish list. That's
if that's not what we're doing, then why are we here? You know, it's just like,
okay. All right, here's wish list in June, right? I think first week of June, Tokyo Game Show is first week of June. In June, they announce that June 30th, Persona 4 Rewind or Redux or whatever, Be Kind Rewind is coming out at the end of June. Awesome. It hits hard. And then they drop Persona 6 release date announcement, March 2026. Here it is, 9 months later. You're getting it. This gives you plenty of time to play your Persona 4, to get all this stuff out of your system and get ready for the next one. And gives them a nice, comfortable window before GTA 6 comes. Other hot stuff. Elder Scrolls 6 announces that it's coming out same week as GTA 6, just because fuck you, world. Like, why not? Nah.
That'd be ballsy.
Why not? Why not?
Why not?
Ridiculous stuff. Now, I have on my personal wish list for this year a couple of things that are announced for this year that are not in the JRPG front, but they are in the RPG front. Solasta 2. I need a release date for this bad boy. I know this isn't your cup of beans, but I like my CRPGs, and Greedfall 2 as well. Like I want a 1.0 release on that. I loved Greedfall 1. I thought it was the best successor to Dragon Age since Dragon Age. Like, it was the only game that actually did the formula right, and they are making that one even better. Yeah, I know. Pipe Dream, that's what we're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Trails is gonna do Trails, right? But do we already have a release date for the Western release of the next one? It's this year. It's already been announced for this year.
Well, okay, so that was the next little banner thing. So this is the Japanese release date, September 19th. I don't know if that's the Western release date.
Oh, that's the Trails in the Sky. I meant the
Beyond Horizon or whatever.
Yeah, right. The next one. I think that one is that not announced for this year?
It is. I don't know the date though.
It might not have a date, but I think it is announced for this year, because they're trying to get the West caught up on the current releases there. And so the Trails game is going to come out, and that'll be 2 Trails games in a year. Hey, excellent news. That's 2 chances for me to disappoint your audience with reviews. 3 if we count Trails in the Sky first chapter.
You know what? I actually might end up reviewing that, because I like that first game a lot.
I hope you do, because someone else needs to take the heat off of me. I've been coming in hot on those. Speaking of coming in hot, that review that we talked about, do we have any news on that? Is that one?
I'm finishing it. I got about halfway yesterday. I'll
Are
probably
we
finish.
able to discuss it?
That's fine. Yeah, I mean, it's way beyond. The game's out, so we can say whatever we want. Yeah.
Cool. I just wanted to make sure that like I wasn't going to step on your toes before you actually dropped the video. Oh my god, I was the only person in the world who played 100 line Last Defense Academy and did not like it. Like, I thought it was hot garbage, and I gave it my best. I wanted to like that game so bad, and I'm going to come in against the crowd, just like I did with Daybreak 2. And I said, Daybreak 2 is a genuinely excellent game. It's very, very good. And this one, I'm on the other side of the fence where I thought 100 Line was just, wasn't it, man. Like, I loved all the people, all the games that they made before, and I saw where they were going with it. But they just handed in a C minus. Like, it was, I wouldn't have been happy if I had paid for that game.
Dang, that's a bummer.
It is.
And this was my question, and I don't have anything to go off of, but after looking at the reviews and hearing your review as I was editing it, I was like, did the other reviewers actually finish the game? Because it seemed like your biggest gripe was the ending, like the first ending, because of how long it took to get there and what happens with it. And then everyone was like, yeah, I beat the game in like 20 hours. And I'm like, does Jack just take a very long time, or are you lying? Like, I don't know.
Nobody beat that game in 20 hours. Like, first of all, nobody beat the game in 20 hours. I didn't finish the game, which I personally find anathema for review purposes, because like, if you didn't finish the game, then you don't know what happened in the game. I get that viewpoint entirely. However, my counter to that is I played 50 hours in the game, and then it told me to go back to square one and start again. And I was like, wow, no, because it wasn't fun until now. And if your game is the meme of like, but it gets good after 50 hours, bro, then you have done something horribly wrong. And so, yeah, I don't know if the other reviewers didn't play it, or if they like sped through the parts, or if they were like not engaging with each of the individual pieces of it. I honestly don't know. Or maybe they enjoy the simplistic one-dimensional characters, right? Like, Lenny from Of Mice and Men had more depth as a character than anyone in this novel did, and his only character was he's retarded and he accidentally kills shit. Like, that's the whole character. And he was a deeper character than anyone in this game, which is really unfortunate because there was so much potential. And in the first like 10 hours of playing it, I was like, okay, cool. I can see what they're setting up here. I can see how they're building things out. I can see what they're doing with this. And they've done similar things in the past with Danganronpa, with 999, with and the way that they did 999 and Richard's Last Reward and Zero Time Dilemma, and they built these characters over time, and they had them like interlocking with each other, like not the same characters, sometimes the same characters. But anyway, they can write excellent characters, and they can write them all in under 30 hours. But for 50 hours to be the welcome to the jungle, we've got fun and games. Like, no. This is dumb. So I raged against that machine, and we
are losing Jack. I don't know if that's just me or if you guys are hearing this, but he's full robot mode right now.
Yeah, sorry. I raged on that one. I am the minority opinion. I literally, I don't think I've seen a single.
Ooh, I can't hear anything you're saying, Jack. You might want to duck out and duck back in. No robot voice. Maybe it's just me then. Okay. Everyone's saying they can hear you. But okay? My internet is bad, apparently.
My microphone says that it's picking up, and it looks like it's picking up. So anyway, I'm the only one. Can you hear me now? Okay. No?
Kind of.
Okay. Anyway, I'm the only negative review of the game that I've seen on the internet. Everyone else loves it. Whatever. I'm going to leave it there. Taylor, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just go ahead and leave, and then I'm going to rejoin.
Now you're good. I can see you and hear you perfectly now.
Okay.
I don't know what happened. Yeah, there was a glitch in the matrix.
Kim Jong-un.
Yep, hacking us.
I'm blaming him.
All his fault. But yeah, no, that's I appreciate the honesty though. Like, you know, that's the thing about games and like critiquing games. Not everybody's gonna love everything. And so I appreciate when people share different opinions. Happy Yoshi. Hello, Happy Yoshi. But yeah, it is interesting how it is the one dissenting opinion, because the way you're talking about, like, ooh, this one's going to be brutal, and then the reviews came out, and I'm like, did everyone play the same game?
I mean, I was also the dissenting opinion on Daybreak 2, but
the other way, which is funny.
I really think, though, that Daybreak 2 did not get a fair shake, because everybody had kind of already made up their mind based on like the fan translated Japanese version of the game. And I had no exposure to any of that stuff going in. All I knew is I had played Daybreak 1 and I didn't like it. Like, I thought, well, I say I didn't like it. I thought it was fine. Like, it was like a 6 out of 10. It was like, okay, well, I'll get through it. But it didn't click for me. It felt like they were still kind of getting their bearings on like how to actually make the game play. But Daybreak 2, I thought that they nailed it. I thought that it got so much better. I thought they got better at the storytelling. I thought they got better with the character development. I thought that they got better with the story. Kind of falls off the rails a little bit in Act 3, but the game itself was much better put together than Daybreak 1, and I didn't have any of the prepackaged prejudice that everybody else had walking into it. I love Daybreak 2.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting to see that, like, how it flip-flopped. And from when I was watching of the gameplay, I was like, oh, there's like that area where you can kind of just grind. There's some interesting characters. Mm-hmm. Some different stuff going on. I mean, I just don't like the Trails game, so that I was probably never gonna like that.
You heathen.
I know they're just, to me, they're just overly verbose. It's like, dude, you talked for 10 minutes and said nothing. Like, that's my problem with the Trails games. They don't know how to get to the point.
Yeah. Totally understand.
Yeah. But a game that does know how to get to the point, that is selling very well, is Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which we have both played, so I feel like we can both share some opinions. But recently it sold 2 million copies. Very exciting. Yeah, well deserved. It was funny, like, day of, they're like, we sold 500,000 copies. We sold this faster than we could have ever expected. And now 12 days after release, it sold 2 million copies. So, there's some games, like, I genuinely wonder, like, community managers and social media managers, I genuinely wonder how plugged in they are sometimes, because for anyone that saw this game day one, you're like, oh yeah, this is going to be amazing. And then there were previews that went out and everyone loved it. I'm like, unless there's some secret about this game that they're hiding, like, this game's going to be amazing. And it was. Like, there was no secret. There was nothing. And the same thing, I remember the same thing happened with Persona 5. And I have a funny little story, if you'll indulge me. So I remember,
will indulge you.
I appreciate that. I remember when it got revealed, everyone was losing their mind. The menus, it looked so flashy and cool. And I remember I went to PSX. I want to say it was 2016 for PlayStation Experience. It was the year before Persona 5 came out in America. And I remember they had a Sega booth. On one side was whatever the latest Sonic game was, and then I think Yakuza. And then on the other side was just Persona 5. And I think they appropriately planned. Like they had a bigger queue for the Persona 5 line, and then they split the other half of their booth between Sonic and Yakuza. But the line for Persona 5 was so long, it's, it filled up the queue, but then it snaked around the other side and snaked into the Yakuza and Sonic lines. And what they ended up doing is they closed the lines for Sonic and Yakuza because there were so many people that wanted to play Persona 5. And it was just like, I just remembered, I'm like, oh, this game is undeniably going to be amazing. Like the fan excitement was big, but I was really frustrated leading up to its release because I remember it didn't really get featured in showcases or E3s or whatever they were doing back then. I'm like, this is going to be Game of the Year contender. And anyone that was following it knew that. And it ended up being a Game of the Year contender. And I feel like now the conversation with Expedition 33 is there anything that could possibly beat it for Game of the Year? And as far as what's coming out, maybe Death Stranding 2, but I think that game's too weird. Like, I just think this is undeniably going to be Game of the Year.
Couple of counterpoints. One, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 delivered, and it was excellent from what I've heard. I haven't played it, but everything I've heard about it has been nothing but glowing. Other side, Assassin's Creed Shadows has a black guy. Award, please.
Yeah. I don't think so. I mean, I know you're being silly. I know you're being silly.
I'm very much being silly. Expedition 33 is genuinely one of the greatest games that I've ever played in my life. Like I just finished it a couple of nights ago, and start to finish, there is not a problem in the game. There's no misstep. They don't like miss on the landing. There's no boredom that sets in. The story drives and it surprises and it hits. Every single story beat hits, and it you feel it. Actually, the one thing that I thought of, maybe because of Ben Starr being one of the lead roles in it, was what Final Fantasy 16 should have been, because this is the dark, mature fantasy game that Final Fantasy 16 promised to be, but couldn't deliver on. And this one does, with tiny studio, a tiny budget. It's just good.
Yeah.
It's none of the nonsense. It's none of the fluff. And it's not like an ugly game or something like, oh, but we have to make Final Fantasy the most beautiful game on the market. Like, okay, cool. Awesome. Well, neat. They've done that here. And also, they managed to do motion capture that actually does the lip syncing. That's something that drove me crazy with Final Fantasy 16. You're going to spend all this time and money on these high-end, top-of-the-line graphics, and you're not even going to bother with lip syncing? Are you joking? Yakuza Like a Dragon had lip syncing that literally changes if you change the in-game language from Japanese to English. It changes the lip syncing.
That's crazy.
Right, and that's RGG, who's making a game on, like, I don't know, $60 million budget, right? Like, they're dwarfed by Square Enix's size and budget, and they managed to nail it. But Final Fantasy's like, oh, well, we don't have time for that. We're too busy making a boring game. Like, get out of here, man. It's nonsense. This proves that everybody else either sucks at their job, or that the bureaucracy of the corporation is a wildly inefficient way to make games and should essentially just be abandoned because it's not working. But this does.
100%. No, you're totally right. Like, this puts so many big AAA games to shame. Like, because like you said, it's like, okay, well, it's a small team, but it doesn't look that good. It's like, no, it looks amazing. Like, the character models are super highly detailed. The environments are like amazing. Like there was not like, as John Hammond likes to say, you know, no, I'm gonna miss the fuck up the quote now. Spare no expense from Jurassic Park. Anyway,
Yeah.
messed that up. But anyway, yeah, there's not one thing where like, you know what, everything's good except this thing over here they kind of missed on. I mean, it's linear, but even that, it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, okay,
It's linear-ish. Like it opens up a lot as you go through it. And some of the zones, like I wanted a mini map because I was getting lost in just like all of the stuff and places to go. And that's by design. Like they're designed to be mazes and to be confusing and to lead you around in circles and stuff. And like top to bottom, it's just excellent. I saw some stupid copium article from I think Rock Paper Shotgun where some guy was like, "No, Expedition 33 wasn't made by a team of 30 people. They outsourced stuff." And it's like, okay, so what's your point? Like, if it works, do it, right? Like,
yeah,
then why doesn't Square Enix outsource the stuff to the same team? Like, yeah, okay, cool. They outsourced their battle animations to a Korean squad of 6 people who made all the stuff that you dodge and parry. They made all that stuff, 6 dudes, right? Or I don't know, maybe there's some women in there, but you get what I mean. Point is, if that's the answer, then do that. Like, this is still not an excuse for why all of the other stuff sucks, right?
yep,
This doesn't change the calculus here. And now that we see it, and it's not just once, right? This conversation started with Baldur's Gate 3, which like everyone said, like, oh, but you don't understand because that team is so big and they had such a budget and they had like all these people working on it for years and they had the D&D license and all that. And like, okay, cool, awesome. Then what's your excuse for, I mean, honestly, what's your excuse for Divinity Original Sin and Divinity Original Sin 2? But then also, like, all right, what's your excuse for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2? What's your excuse for Clear Obscure? What's your excuse for whatever the next thing is that comes out that's $50 when Nintendo says, well, we're going to charge $80 and Microsoft says, oh, us too. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, no.
that's the other thing that I think is also getting lost in the conversation. Only 50, they could have charged 70. Like they could have done it and gotten away with it and nobody would have batted an eye, but they charged 50. I don't
still would
really
have been
know
Game
why.
of the Year.
Yes, 100%. 100%. I actually don't know why they only charge 50. Like that's kind of crazy.
Because, like, I mean, if you want to be in the conversation for Game of the Year, you're in the conversation. Now, if you want to be in, but just walk in and just drop your balls on the table, that's how you do it. Like, in all sincerity, right? Because, like, that's literally the cherry on top of the whole shit sundae of the modern games industry. Is like, yeah, we did it all, and it's $50. Eat it. What you got?
Oh yeah.
No
So
microtransactions. All your cosmetics, they're in the game. It's part of the game to find the cosmetics. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, exactly. So Larock had something he wanted to bring up here. So he said, you were harsh on Final Fantasy 16 for being too dark, devoid of color and humor. Was Expedition 33 just written well enough that it could have been forgiven for lacking levity? Some other people have also replied to this, but I think the game does have levity. Like obviously there's deaths. I mean, the beginning is just like, oh my God, the beginning of that game is nuts. But even like there's a moment when Gustav and Lune are kind of like arguing about like what they should do. And then after they're done arguing, she was like, you're being kind of silly. He's like, yeah, I was. Like they're kind of laughing at each other and poking fun. There's Esquier, who's like this just big balloon weird guy, and he's totally silly and weird. There's the village of those guys when you're walking around, and like there's the guy breakdancing where if you talk to him, he just does breakdancing infinitely. Like that's pretty light. Like there is nothing like that in Final Fantasy 16, like nothing. So I totally disagree with this premise that it wasn't light, because it totally was. And I think that's the key here, is that there's peaks and valleys. Like if you're just in the valley the whole game, then the dark moments where people die or something bad happens, they don't hit as hard because you're like, okay, well, this has just been the whole game. But if you're up and there's some fun moments and we're kind of having fun, we're sitting by the fire telling stories, then when those bad moments hit, they hit that much harder. So I think Expedition 33 goes through the whole gamut. That's to me. I mean, would you agree with that? You've played more of it than I have, so you would be able to speak to it better than me.
Absolutely. Like, I love it. And as you move on in the game and you get to do essentially social link discussions with the party members around the campfire, some of those are very serious and some of them are really deep and moving, but also some of them are just nonsense and having fun, and they are the levity. I'm going to slightly disagree with you though, because Final Fantasy 16 did have one source of actual joy and levity, and then they killed him off.
Yeah. Yep.
They had one good character, and they were like, "Wait, we can't have you enjoying this game. Unacceptable." Like, it feels like Neil Druckmann came in to direct the last 2/3 of Final Fantasy 16. I couldn't believe how just.
And then I just feel like in 16 too, there were just so many unrealistic ways that characters were written. So like something happens and then there's a time skip. And then I think there's a second time skip. It's been a long time since I've played 16, so I don't remember exactly. But there's like this time when like Jill and Clive are, doing their thing together. And it's like, you're telling me they haven't kissed or hooked up once since they've become adults? Like, that is ridiculous. And then it finally happens later on. But I'm like, God, talk about blue balls. Like, it took long enough. Like, and then,
that, but like it's poorly written, poorly executed, and it just felt like they were trying to copy the Tidus and Yuna scene from Final Fantasy X, but you have no build up, no give a shit here, right? Because like, I did not care one bit about Jill when it got to that scene, and I mean like through to the end of the game. The only time I cared about Jill was without saying things that would be clearly classified as spoilers. There is towards the end of the game, there's a place where you go that involves her directly. And it's like, it's a really important and moving thing. And it's like a really deep part of her character development. But then they just like touch on it. Like Gustav skipping a stone. Like, what? No, like this was your moment. This was your moment you had writing, you had characters, you had a chance to shine, to bring them out. And they're like, no. But did you see that there is really pretty combat that's going to happen? Oh, guy, again? Do I have to do another 1.5 hour long fight? Like, really? Is this necessary?
Yeah, no, I agree. The whole story of that game was so frustrating. I'm just like, I was just playing it just to finish it, not because there was like next to nothing I enjoyed story-wise. And then this is an interesting point though. So Dimerin says Square Enix is not used to making mature games like other studios. Like that's an interesting point. Like, you could hire someone that knows how to write that kind of stuff, but most of the Final Fantasies have been pretty light and silly. But you're making a face, so
no, absolutely not. Like, did you play Octopath Traveler or Octopath Traveler 2? Some of those stories are dark as shit. They are mature. Yeah. Like, if you look at
that's true.
I'm dropping
Primrose. Right, Primrose is one.
Primrose is actually a really good one. I was thinking of the Scholar from Octopath 2.
Oh, it starts with an O. Oswald?
Oswald, yes, Oswald. Yeah. Oswald's story is like, bro, you want dark and mature. There you go. Or like, hold on, let me go back to 1995 or 96 or whatever. Final Fantasy VI, dark as shit. Like, you literally gather your team of heroes and go to stop the bad guy and then fail and the world ends and it's your fault. And now you have to live with that. And like, what? Don't give me this. Like, Square doesn't know how to write dark and mature stories. Maybe they've forgotten. That's possible. But they have shown that they have the chops before. They might not be showing it these days. And certainly they didn't show it with FF16 and not with 15 either, but 14, right? Like, no, hold on, I'm double pushing back. Shadowbringers in Final Fantasy 14, some of the best mature storytelling that I've ever seen ever, right? Like, listening to Emmett Selk go on his final monologue, where he's just begging the Warrior of Light, remember that we existed, remember that we were. Like, you feel this. It's dark, it's mature, it's literally extinction, it's genocide happening in front of you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, don't give me this Square Enix doesn't know how to write mature stories. They do. At least some people working for them do. They just didn't put those people on FF16.
Yeah. Yep. No, they just...
Yes, Celeste in Act 2. You're right. Like, exactly right, Lurok. Like, if you don't do things exactly right with Celeste in Act 2, she self-terminates on screen in front of you. Like, I remember playing this when I was like 10 or so years old and being like, what? Right? Like, losing my mind on this stuff. Like, dark, mature, dude, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that very PG way of saying it. So this is totally has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I got to get it out of my system. So when people were talking about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I guess some people were getting...
Squad.
No, people were calling it Self Forever Sleep Squad, Unalive the Justice League.
I love it.
Such a hilarious way to, like, it's so dumb that, like, you can't say kill or death or suicide. It's like, okay, whatever.
We're on YouTube, man. I mean, like, listen, there were a lot of words that you couldn't say between 2020 and 2022 as well. And like, no, you're not allowed to talk about that thing, even though it's pertinent and makes sense.
Yep. No, for sure. But what we were kind of saying before about, like, you know, Expedition 33, here's something that I wanted to bring up that I don't think gets talked about when we think of, like, game of the year or games that get highly reviewed. I think with stuff like this, especially with what we were just talking about Final Fantasy 16, expectation is such a big part of it. So with Expedition 33, it's a brand new team. Don't know anything about them. You know, we hear it's a small team, cool premise. If it comes out and it doesn't land, it's like, okay, well, I didn't have high expectations because this is a brand new game that I've never heard of. But when we're on the 16th Final Fantasy, unfortunately, we've got 30 years of expectation, whether that's fair or not, right? So I think when something like this comes out and it's excellent, because the expectations were so low, I think that makes us enjoy it more. Whereas it takes a lot for a 16th Final Fantasy game because there's so many boxes it has to check for us to enjoy it. So I think when it comes to stuff like this, like, unexpected low expectations, I think, help with high scores.
In that case, Suikoden 6, Game of the Year 2025, 2026. Like, there's no expectations for that one.
No, exactly. I mean, that could be. It's like, okay, well, they haven't made one of these in like 20 years. Like, all right, who cares? You know, like, you might be right, honestly. Like, that could be like, but it has to be good. It can't just be fine. And that's the thing with Expedition 33, like you said, like, impeccable pacing, impeccable voice acting, production value, gameplay. I mean, they didn't miss on anything. So
the voice acting is legitimately insane. Like
yeah.
it's so good. At the beginning of the game, I kept hearing Shadowheart in my head because Jennifer English, the girl who does my L, was Shadowheart. And I know you're not a Baldur's Gate fanboy like I am, but I've spent hundreds of hours in Baldur's Gate 3. And so at the beginning of the game, I was hearing Shadowheart's voice in my head. But as it went on and as I felt her own the character and bring it to life, she does that character such justice and really nails it. And I saw an interview with Andy Serkis as he was talking about doing the voice for one of the characters in the game. And he was saying that one of the challenges of it is that by the time that the voice actors, had been given the script and brought into the recording studio, all of the motion capture had already been done. Motion capture was already done beforehand, and the animations were all already done. And so the voice actors had to bring these characters to life, but they didn't get to choose pacing, speed, how to emote, when to get louder, when to do things. I mean, like you remember one of the only good things about Final Fantasy 16 was Ben Starr just like owning
he's amazing.
Clive. Yeah.
Oh
like
yeah.
And like there were moments where you could tell they just like let him off the leash in the recording studio. They're like, Ben, just go do your thing. And he just right, like loses his mind doing it. And he nailed it. But this is a new challenge because all of this stuff was already done because a lot of it was outsourced, right? And every single one of them delivered just a perfect performance, really brought the characters out, really added to the game in such a positive way that these characters are now in the common consciousness that didn't exist 1 month ago.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I'm genuinely stunned how they managed to get like such prolific actors in their game. Like I wonder if like they just, because they weren't also doing motion capture, maybe they didn't have to pay them as much, or maybe they were just so taken with the material. I don't know, but like Andy Serkis, pretty famous at Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, you name it. Charlie Cox, who's pretty hot right now, just coming off the Daredevil show. Obviously, Ben Starr is like one of the hottest voice actors. Jennifer English
literally won the award for best voice actor of the year when 16 came out, right? Like, yeah, pretty hot.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could probably put together a more star-studded cast, but it's pretty incredible. So that's another thing I would love to know, like how they managed to get them all. But yeah, in my opinion, unless there's a game that has not been announced yet, which is possible, I just don't think anything's going to beat this, just because something has to be so good. And also, I think because I think, like fan expectations come with it too. Like from what I read, it's the highest reviewed fan reviewed game or user score for Metacritic ever, which is like insane. It's like a 9.9 or something. But
I'm actually now, was that the same year that Final Fantasy 16 came out as well? Was that the same year that Baldur's Gate 3 came out? Because I know he won.
I think it was, yeah.
It was? Okay. All right. Then I could be wrong, but either way, nominated for, but yes, Neil Newbern won the best voice actor, and he did an incredible job as well as Astarion. Like, beautiful. Okay.
I gotta be honest, totally unrelated.
Thank you for your actually.
Yes, thank you, Mad Kaiser. Yeah, no, to go off topic a little bit, last year I felt like the wrong person won best voice or best actor for Game of the Year or whatever. It was the girl from Hellblade 2, because I know she had won it before. Melina Jurgen, I think is her name. So she had won it for Hellblade 1, and then she won it again for Hellblade 2. Now, I didn't play Hellblade 2, so obviously this is biased, but I was like, dude, you got to give it to the girl who played Aerith from Rebirth. Like, she did an amazing. I was so surprised she didn't win. But, you know, one more shot. We got one more Final Fantasy VII game. Hopefully they give it to her for that one. You got some opinions.
I have a dearth of opinions when it comes to Rebirth. And like, actually, do you know what? Here's my opinion. I hope that part 3 of Final Fantasy VII actually does a world map the same way that Expedition 33 did. I thought
That'd be
they
awesome.
did, like, the world map that they did there felt good. It was very clearly a world map that is different from the things like you are going into zones, but also at the same time, while you're on the map, you can see the zone and like the things that are in there. They all exist in the space, just not in the as much detail. I thought that they did a really good job with world map there. And again, this comes back to my question before, which is like, all right, cool. One of the biggest challenges that Final Fantasy VII Part 3 is facing, that they've talked about publicly, is like, we're trying to figure out how do we build air travel with the Highwind, and how do we build the world map? Like, all right, cool. Well, a team of 30 motherfuckers figured it out in France. What you think? You got it?
Exactly.
You got the chops?
Yeah, exactly. No, but here's what I think. My only counter argument, I mean, I agree. I would have loved for them to have done that, but I think Square can't help themselves, and they want like the big open world with the Ubisoft towers and the mini games and stuff, and it's harder to do that when you have like a traditional JRPG world map. So that's the only reason I think they didn't do that.
Why do we want, like, serious question? In the last 6 years, Ubisoft has lost, what, 95% of its stock price? Like, I have a better idea. Maybe let's not copy those guys, right? Like, why? Nobody's rushing out to buy Final Fantasy VII because they're like, oh, but I heard it has bandit camps, it has towers. Like, oh God, no, we don't. Like, I
Don't
understand.
want it.
I am, again, the dissenting opinion who thought that Rebirth was mid, but like, I don't want mini games. I want the story. I want to see what you're doing with things. I want more Stamp. I want more Zack, and I want an awful lot less of whatever the hell the Shinra Mansion was. Like, brother.
I don't know why they felt like they needed to reinvent box throwing mechanics. Like, that was one of the worst things I've ever played. That was so bad.
Also, Roche, like, what a build up for such a lackluster letdown. I was just like, you made this character stretch out over 2 games for this?
Yes. Yeah, pretty bad. Pretty bad. Unfortunate, for sure. But I'm trying to think of, let's pull this up. I'm going to look up 2025 video game releases. So as far as stuff coming out, okay, let's take a serious look at some other stuff. So we have there's a new Doom coming out. There's Death Stranding 2. There's Ghost of Yotei, so it's like Ghost of Tsushima 2. Metroid Prime 4, I don't really know if, and those games aren't really known for like
amazing. The new Rune Factory does look pretty sick.
It does.
That looks good.
For my money, that looks incredible. Like, that's the kind of game I like. I don't know if it's like in the wider scope of things, it's gonna have the pull, but I think it's gonna be good. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Do you think there's any, like, genuinely any other game that could be a serious contender?
No, but also we're coming hot off the heels of the GTA 6 pushback, and with the Tokyo Game Show coming up in just a couple of weeks, I think a lot of companies are just holding their cards close to their vest right now, and we're going to see a lot more announcements in the next few weeks, and probably the most at the game show. Like, that's when they're going to fill out the actual fall and winter lineup. I don't see anything currently on the books that even stands a chance, but
so there's this one game that might have a prayer, but I feel like nobody's talking about it. Have you heard of this game called Mind's Eye?
I've seen a preview for it. It showed up on my PlayStation Store the other day, and I watched the little trailer for it. It, to me at least, it struck me as somebody who played Gears of War back in 2006, and they were like, do you think they've forgotten yet? What if we just did that again? But then oh, we're gonna make one of the guys psychic. Like, oh, okay. It looks really meh to me. It looks like it's going to sell very, very well on army bases all around the world, and that's about it. It looks meh. I don't know. At least when I watched the trailer for it,
it's it's weird. Like, sometimes you look at a game and you're like, this looks like there's got to be more to it, and then the game comes out and there's not.
Yeah.
That's what this looks like, where I'm like, you have this big open world, you drive cars, it's kind of futuristic. Like you said, there's the Gears of War, cover-based shooting. I'm like, and it's by Leslie Benzies, who was the longtime Grand Theft Auto producer. And so I'm like, okay, it's like a futuristic Grand Theft Auto. Cool. But then every time I look at it, I'm like, well, there's got to be more, right? But then every time there's not more. So I'm just like, this just looks like, you know what it reminds me of is Watch Dogs, where I'm like, oh, Watch Dogs, this game could be cool. And then you play it and you're like, yeah, you kind of just do the same thing and it's not that great. So that's what I'm anticipating with it. Like, there could be something they're holding back, but honestly, every time I see it, I'm like, it was fine.
You certainly wouldn't hold back good things from your trailer. Like, if anything, you would make up nonsense for your trailer, right?
That's true. That's a great point. Yeah.
Honestly, I think that the only contenders, so when it comes to the end of the year, based on what we have seen so far and what we know of so far, right? So excluding any future announcements or anything like that, the only things that I see actually contending for Game of the Year are Expedition 33, probably Monster Hunter Wilds will be nominated. Elden Ring Night Reign is actually a contender just because people get all fucking goo goo gaga for Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 might get a nod for the nomination. It also might not, just because it's it's a naughty boy game. Doesn't really play the nice stuff. But I don't see much else actually contending this year.
One game that people were mentioning was Split Fiction, which is like that co-op game they did. It Takes Two, and it's good. Like, I've been playing it with Hemi, and it's pretty good. But I just think Expedition 33 is way better so far.
I've heard nothing but good things about that game, and it will probably win best. Is there an award for co-op game? I don't know.
There's best multiplayer. I don't know if that's going to count. And then they have best family game.
If it's best multiplayer, Elden Ring is going to take that.
That's true. Yeah.
One assumes the game's not out yet, but again, one assumes, because I am not a huge From Software fan, but they don't miss. The games that they make are exactly the games that they intend to make every single time.
I'm not a big From Software fan, but I platinumed Elden Ring. And I know you did that out of spite, but...
Yeah, I did.
I forgot about Blueprints. That's like that roguelike
Blueprints
exploration.
might get like an indie game nod or something. It is an indie game, isn't it? I believe it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard excellent things about that, but also like unfortunately for that, it came out so close to both Expedition 33 and the Oblivion remaster. Now, if you remember, 2 weeks ago, everybody was saying, "Oh, it's unfortunate that Expedition 33 released at the same time as the Oblivion remaster because it's going to be overshadowed and people aren't going to play this game." And like, guess what, motherfucker? It went the other way. Like the remaster has not sold 2 million copies in 12 days.
It's true. Well, it's weird because both games are on Game Pass, but Expedition 33 is actually selling. Well, also, did Oblivion come out on PlayStation? It did, right?
Yeah. It's available. And it's also $50.
Interesting. Why do you think that is? I mean,
that it's $50?
Yeah, or no, but why do you think it's not selling compared to Expedition 33?
Oh, because like you're doing a remake of a game from 2006. Like the only people, well, the people who are buying this are the people who, you're not getting new fans in with this. You're only getting nostalgia fans, or you're getting people who are like, "Oh, my first ever Elder Scrolls game was Skyrim, but I just couldn't really go back, and like Oblivion was kind of janky," and it is janky, and it's still janky. But like all Bethesda games are janky, and like maybe they've forgotten because at this point nobody plays vanilla Skyrim anymore. Like you play it with all the mods on to actually make the game work. Because Bethesda just doesn't bother to finish their games for whatever reason.
The community will finish it for us.
It's a meme, but at the same time, it's truth. So yeah, like I don't know. I think that you're getting a lot of people who like. I almost failed out of college because of Oblivion. It took up a big chunk of my life, but also at the same time, I don't really feel that drawn to play the remake of it. Like, if I had nothing else to do, I would, but at the same time, I have everything else to do, right? Like, I still haven't played Second Story R. I still haven't played Eiyuden Chronicles. I still haven't finished Persona 3 Reload. Like I have a backlog to keep me busy for years and years and years before I even think about going back to a game from 2006 and reliving the moment.
Yeah, I know we're sort of in this time of doing remakes and remasters and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think there was like an initial hype, but this when Oblivion got like, because there were rumors for weeks and months that like, oh, it's coming, and then they just dropped it out of nowhere. But I think this also maybe goes to show how much goodwill Bethesda has lost over the years. Because it's like Skyrim was great, Fallout 4 came out, it's like, all right, we'll accept this, but it's not marginally better than Skyrim.
Or Fallout 3.
Or Fallout 3, yeah. And then Starfield came out and they're like, what the hell, guys? Like, but I feel like Bethesda has just been lapped so many times by like CD Projekt and so many other teams. Even, the Warhorse, is that who makes Kingdom Come?
Yeah, right.
So yeah, there's just been, I don't know what it is. It's something about their engine, or just they refuse to get with the times, but it's just they have gotten left in the dust, I felt like.
Speaking of the engine, so based on the information that we currently have, Elder Scrolls 6 is being made in the Control engine, which is the same engine they use for Skyrim. So
That's crazy.
Hold on. So wait, it gets even better, because that means that there is a very, very real chance that when Elder Scrolls 6 drops, it's going to look worse than the Oblivion remaster.
That's crazy. Because wasn't that remade on Unreal or something?
Yeah. It was remade in Unreal, and like the Unreal Engine is so good. I imagine that as a developer, it probably has its own share of challenges, but whenever I look at things like Bethesda being like, well, we refuse to use this because then what, like Epic is going to take a cut of it, like, okay, or God help them, the BioWare, rest in peace, you guys, like, they're done, right?
Are they gonna use the fucking Frostbite engine?
Yeah, like still using the Frostbite engine, and it's like, y'all, it didn't work in 2014. What makes you think it could possibly work now? Like, oh,
and I get it. It's like, okay, if we can make our own engine and stuff, but it's like, is it really worth the hassle? And I think teams are coming around to the answer being no, it is not, or it's not worth the hassle. Because even CD Projekt, I guess for Witcher 4 and the next Cyberpunk, they're going to stop using their engine to use Unreal 5. So it's just like, I get that it's got its problems, but I think for just speed, it's just like, you know what, let's just use one off the shelf thing. Maybe we can mod it, but it's not worth the hassle.
Yeah. Well, and the other side to that is like, that means that you can easily hire developers who already have experience working in your engine. Because if you're building on Frostbite or in the Control engine or something like that, then it's like, all right, cool. So if you hire a developer, you need to spend the next 6 months just literally teaching them the engine. And like, you can't hire people to do work, and you definitely can't outsource work, because like the team in Korea, they don't know how to program in the Frostbite engine. Like,
right.
Why would they, right? But you can do that with Unreal because it's just global and it's nice and standardized for everybody.
That's actually a really good point that I didn't even think about. Yeah, because it's like your team is going to ebb and flow. You're going to lose people. You know, you're going to have to hire people, and it's like, if you can make sure that they're familiar with whatever you're working with, then that makes it a lot easier. Like if for some reason, I'm making a scenario up, the police come tomorrow and they're like, hey, you can't use your laptop, you have to use a Mac now. I'd be fucked because I have no idea how to edit on Mac. I don't know how to use Final Cut. I don't know how to do any of that. It would take me probably a good month or two to just get readjusted to editing videos on a Mac, because I don't know what I'm doing on a Mac.
Even worse, if they were like, okay, from now on, you and only you have to use Ubuntu Linux. Like, you don't get to work with anybody, son. You don't get to use any software, son. Like, okay, cool. Now I'm stuck. Like, what? Like, just trying to figure it out and like monkey wrench things together, and like it doesn't well. You can see it doesn't work well, right? Like, I know you didn't play the most recent Dragon Age, and good for you.
Which is a shame, because I actually liked Inquisition. I know it's, you know, people can take or leave that game, but I had fun with it. But yeah, I just, everything I saw from Veilguard, I'm like, no.
It breaks my heart.
It's just such
you know that I'm gay for Dragon Age, but like, oh god, that just it killed me. It was bad. Anyhow, I'm gonna get off my soapbox here.
Yeah.
Now I have, as is becoming our standard, a question for you.
Okay.
How much, and in the wake of Clair Obscur, this actually might be a very pertinent question. How much does music make or break a game for you? And can you give an example of a time where music just made you, like, it put you over the line into like, okay, this is it, or a time when you were like, why the fuck is clown music playing? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, like for me, bad music, it's mostly like it makes it forgettable. Like I can't think of a game where it's been actively bad, but like there's so many games where I'm like, it, because the music's excellent, it elevates the game. Like for me, playing Final Fantasy VII Remake and hearing those tracks not in MIDI or whatever they were making the music in back in the day, like when the opening of Final Fantasy VII Remake kicks off with like the main theme and they're zooming out to Midgar, like I'm literally tearing up when like Aerith's theme plays for the first time, when it's just like that very soft piano version. I'm like losing my shit. Like the Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, the music is like perfect. And I think it really elevates those games for me. Like games, I feel like there's games where the soundtrack is like better than the game, like Chrono Cross. Like to me, in my head, like that's the best game soundtrack of all time. But when I really think about it, I'm like, the game is not really that great, but the music is excellent. Like it's so good. Same with like, the game is good, but like Nier Automata is like insanely good. And it just totally elevates the game. So those would be the ones that come to mind. I don't know. I'm genuinely trying to think of games where I'm like, what is this music? Like it's so bad. I can't really think of any. I will say this. Up until Tales of Arise, I felt like most of the Tales games, like their soundtracks sounded very similar. And I can't put into words what they sound like, but there's like this just vibe and sound to them that they all have. And like I can hear it in my mind's, not my mind's eye, my mind's ear. I can like hear it in my head, but I'm just like, this is not good. So I would say the PS3, PS4 era Tales games, excluding Arise, I just didn't really care for. So that's the one that comes to mind, but
that makes sense. That checks out. I think that you're right in that a lot of, basically, if a soundtrack is not good, it becomes forgettable. It's very rare that it is obtrusively bad. But there are some that are good because they cue like what is happening, even if like the actual songs themselves are maybe not amazing. And to me, a good example of this is Yakuza, which if you've ever played any of the Yakuza games, you already know that like every one of the side quests has one of like 3 or 4 songs behind it. And whichever song plays lets you know, like, is this a funny side quest? Is this an emotional side quest? Is this a fighting side quest, or like whatever? But it cues you with the music, even though any individual track is not, it's not really standout. They aren't actually that good by themselves. And if you remember when we were putting together the review, Infinite Wealth, like those tracks individually are just like not interesting, not good. Like they're not bad, but they don't grab you at all. On the flip side, though, 100 Line, when I was picking the music for that, like I was going through the track list, and every single one of them was just a straight banger, like so good. They, for all of my complaints about the game, they nailed the music. It's phenomenal. Also, the art direction, so good, genuinely beautiful game. But the music is perfect, and I think that Dimmerin is right that Expedition 33 is going to take the soundtrack of the year. I completely agree with you. One of the reasons for that, other than it just being extraordinary, is that like 100 Line is excellent soundtrack, but because it's a visual novel, it functions similarly to the Yakuza thing, where like you hear the track and it kind of cues you to what I'm doing. Oh, this is the free time track, or oh, this is the combat track, or whatever. But you aren't actively listening to it because your mind is busy reading and following along, and like you're hearing voices in your head and all of that stuff. And so it kind of overshadows what's going on with the music. But then whenever you hear them by themselves, they're like just top notch. Now, They aren't Expedition 33 because that is transcendental.
Oh my God. Just the opening, like when you start the game, that start screen menu song is like incredible. Like the battle themes, I can hear them in my head, like do 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 do. And then the soundtrack is just like incredible, and it always fits with wherever they are, whatever they're doing. I think that's kind of something that's underrated. Like what you were saying, it fits with the moment, and it's a good song. Like that's the banger, right? Like if it can match the mood and just on their own, they're excellent. Like they use the song like in such a perfect, poignant way. Like the cinematography and what's happening. Like again, I'm picturing a lot of moments in Final Fantasy VII. I can't remember if it's Rebirth or Remake, but I'm just hearing like, Sephiroth's piano tune, and there's like this cut with him and Cloud fighting, and it's perfect.
Flowers in the Church is to me like the best example of like when, and both in the original and in Remake, where you fall through in Land in the Church, and like you come off of this big like high adrenaline scene, and everything is just pumping and pumping, and then you land in the church in the bed of flowers, and then the music starts playing, and you're like, oof. Oh no, it's one of those, right? And you start losing it immediately. It's incredibly effective.
It's amazing.
So good.
And then sometimes there can be earworms, right? Like the song I'm gonna hear in my head till I die is the theme song for Sakura Wars. And for anybody that's played Sakura Wars knows exactly what I'm talking about, because they play that song over and over and over. It's like they play at the beginning, like when you boot the game up, but then like the game is sort of broken up into like anime episodes where they do like recaps of what just happened and then previews for what's going to happen in the next part of the game. But they play that song every time, and it's just so freaking catchy. And for anyone that has been following the channel for a while, you've probably heard me use that song like innumerable number of times in videos.
For me, it's the Chrono Trigger soundtrack. It just like it lives rent free in my head. Especially there's a song that I don't know the title of it, but it's the one where like they're about to like go through time, and they're about to do things, do 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 do, and just like that just lives in my head basically all the time. It's forever. It's there, and it's there for life.
Yeah.
That's another good one. Are there any other aspects of a game other than like the basic stuff, right? Like gameplay, story, but are there any other ancillary parts of a game that will make or break a game for you, that will maybe push you over the edge from like this game is good into like, oh, this game is great, or the other way, which is like, I was kind of on the fence about this game, but now I don't think I'm gonna finish it. Like, set it down.
Well, I kind of have
other
two
than
different
playing guitar with your controller, right? Let's take that and let's go ahead and toss that one into the bin. Sorry, you Emerald Fantasia fans.
I think game developers these days have lost all sense of pacing. Like do you know who David Jaffe is?
Yeah.
He okay. So for anybody that doesn't know, he was the director for the original God of War and Twisted Metal. He's pretty much retired. He does this basically. But anyway, he said that I think a lot of developers these days, they get lost in the sauce, and it's just like design porn, meaning like they're like, oh, what if we did this really cool mechanic and interacted with this other cool mechanic? And it's just like, okay, but does it make the game fun? Like you're getting up your own ass too much. And I feel like game developers kind of get up their own ass, and their pacing is horrible. Like that's the other thing with Expedition 33. The pacing is incredible. Like there's never a moment where I'm like, okay, can we get to the point,
You
and unfortunately,
like 70% of Rebirth.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But
I see moments I take my jabs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. Well, different conversation. But I think with Rebirth, it's not necessarily pacing problems. I think people were so invested in the story they didn't want to do all this other stuff, which I guess you could interpret as pacing. But I think JRPGs are especially guilty of this, of having these super long openings. Like Persona is horrible with this. Like they have these super long openings. It's like, God, can we just get to the freaking point already? I think pacing is a big problem. Like if you have good pacing where I just don't notice the hours fly by, then that's going to probably, big thumbs up for me. But the other thing that I think goes really underappreciated is like sound design. And I'm not talking about soundtrack. I'm talking about like sound of playing the game. And I like one great example is, oh God, what the heck is the name of that game? Scarlet Nexus. Scarlet Nexus it gives you all these cues, like when your abilities are off cooldown and like when you break enemies, it has this really satisfying, like shattering sound effect. Like the sound effects in that game were like 10 out of 10. And it goes unnoticed because like who notices sound effects? Like if they're bad, you're going to notice like, oh, what is that? That sounds really weird. But when they're excellent, you don't notice them. But I just remember with Scarlet Nexus, I was like, wow, I'm like really noticing the sounds, like the sound cues, like, oh, like now I can break this enemy. Now I can do a cooldown. And when you are performing moves, it just felt really crunchy and satisfying. Like I'll always remember Scarlet Nexus for good sound design. And I just think it goes really underappreciated.
I can get on board with that. I respect that. For me, one of my biggest gripes is in the same area, but slightly different, which is repeated voice line triggers. And like a lot of games are guilty of this, especially in like combat situations. The most recent one that just broke me mentally was I played Avowed, which again, I'm a CRPG dork, and so like I love Pillars of Eternity, loved Pillars 2, thought it was one of the greatest games ever. And then when Avowed came out, I played that, and one of the companions, the first companion that you get, his name is Kai, and in combat, the companions can get downed, basically incapacitated, and you can revive them and bring them back. And every time that you do that, or every time that you hit an enemy who's attacking him, or every time that you hit an enemy that he is attacking, or every time you just win at combat, he will jump in with this voice line and say, "You're a good friend." And I heard this line, "You're a good friend," about 400 times throughout my first playthrough of Avowed. And it's just, it feels like nobody bothered to play this game as a first-time player, because it's one of those things that like if you're on your third or fourth playthrough, you just kind of become blind to it, right? Because you're so used to these things. But for a first-time player, it is unbelievably jarring to just hear the same voice line spat at you basically every single combat. And like, no, Kai, I am not a good friend. Watch me let your entire continent get burned down. Yeah. Watch me support that. Watch me do my evil playthrough. And you still tell me I'm a good friend. Like, oh, guy, I'm going to prove you so wrong.
Oh, my God.
That's one that kills me. And that also reminds me of the... They hate immigrants.
That's the one I thought you were going to say was from Daybreak 2. They hate immigrants.
it was only one battle, but they just kept repeating the line. They hate immigrants. It was so bad. Just like outstandingly bad, so much so that even though it was only one battle, I had to mention it in the review. Oh, goodness.
It also reminds me of like Xenoblade Chronicles 2. We'll beat them with the power of friendship. Like Rex would just say that over and over and over again. Oh my God.
Not only is that line repeated, but also it's really, really, really dumb. Like, no, we won't. No, we won't. We'll beat them with swords and guns and mechs. Like there's no friendship on the battlefield, my friend. Like,
yes. Oh god, that's funny.
yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, this has been a fun one, but I think we're getting about to that time of the day where we got to wrap it up, unfortunately. But appreciate the questions; those are fun. I like that. So yeah, so Jack was alluding to this earlier. It's been my fault that I've taken so long on this, but tomorrow morning we'll have his 100-line Last Defense Academy review finally. I've got a video on Towerborn, which is kind of like Dragon's Crown. Did you ever play Dragon's Crown?
No.
It's like a side-scrolling beat-em-up game, but with like lots of RPG elements. Like you get new gear and you level up and you get new abilities and stuff. And it has like kind of a, it's by Vanillaware. Dragon's Crown is by Vanillaware, but Towerborn is more, I don't know who makes it, but it's got like a traditional like anime cel-shaded art style. So I'm playing that. I'll have a video on that out next week. Kind of a cool little game. But next week, there's this thing that I've been working on literally for the last year. And I'm going to put out a trailer for it on Monday. And I'm going to say that because I want to stick to that. Because if I don't have a release date, then I'm just never going to put it out, or it's going to be too late. So on Monday for you guys, keep an eye out for something really exciting that I've been working on for a long time. And on the next episode, we'll be able to talk about it. But I'm very, very excited. When we end the stream, I'll tell you what I'm talking about. But for everyone else, you're going to have to wait patiently.
I feel so special.
Ha 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 ha. Cool. Well, anyways, guys, you enjoy the rest of your evening. I know for most of the world watching, it's Thursday night, but it's Friday afternoon for us. I gotta start getting ready for work, and Jack's gotta probably do dad duties or whatever it is he's doing these days. But anyways, yeah, appreciate you guys tuning in and watching and commenting and interacting. So with that, we will see you all next week on This Week in JRPGs. So peace out, guys. We'll talk to you later.